Pokemon ZA is the best, laziest game I have played all year, and it's the only way I really know how to summarize the game in general, because the game is lazy. One giant, or rather medium-sized, lifeless city with nearly no buildings that you can go into, no voice acting from any of the characters, a pretty terrible storyline, just sort of left me pressing the A button as fast as I could to get through the cutscenes, PS3 level graphics that a mobile game could probably also handle, and just like an overall lack of personality or care, I guess, to the aesthetic or artistic direction in the game. And a normal series probably enough to like kill the game off for me. However, I still found myself wanting to play it pretty much non-stop, which is like a sort of an oxymoron to a degree. And I guess it's because the gameplay loop itself is so addictive. I mean, it's no secret that I've always loved playing Pokemon games. I've been playing like since Gen 1. I got Pokemon Blue all the way back in 7th grade. And now it feels easier than ever to actually like build your Pokedex inside the game and just sort of perfect your team the way you wanted. Because now you can actually knock the Pokemon out and still catch them, which prevents that teetering balance of the low HP bar, and so it's more addictive collecting them this way, but at the same time it is also a little bit more lazy because there's no like actual effort involved in it, and so it's like a lazy that I enjoy because I enjoy collecting all the Pokemon for the Pokedex, but at the same time I feel sort of bad about it because it makes it just a little bit too easy to collect the entire Pokedex. But speaking of completing that Pokedex, you also don't really get to have the environmental interaction or simply the massive landscapes in general to explore as you're trying to find all these Pokemon. Now they're all just simply in these very constricted wild zones. And I do like one aspect about it because it allows me to see like which Pokemon are in that particular wild zone. And so I'd have like a little checklist of a completion system here. So I know if I need to waste any more time in that particular area. And so like the mystery's taken away, which makes it easier for me to complete the Pokedex, which I do like that little checklist of a system. But at the same time, I do miss all the exploration that you have trying to figure out which Pokemon are in which areas and which ones make the most sense to be in which areas and things like that. And so once again, like it's addictive as far as like how they're doing it, but it's lazy because there's no sense of wandering around hoping to find some rare Pokemon that no one else has come across yet. Now, speaking of segmentation in the game, the challengers are all in one giant challenge zone, or I'm sorry, multiple little challenge zones spread throughout here, and you have to beat a certain number of them in order to challenge a contender for the next rank. Now, I do like hunting for the competitors like this, instead of them like cluttering up the environment when you're trying to just simply get to your next mission or trying to find some Pokemon. I do like how it's sort of segmented here, because it like puts the control in your hands how you want to spend your time inside the game. Like, do you want to take some time to train your team up and get them more powerful by taking on the contenders? Or do you want to take the time to journey into the wild zone, just simply focus on catching Pokemon and not have to worry about being sucked into a overall trainer battle at the same time? So in a way, I do like this aspect because it allows me to have the ability to pick up and play the game in bursts, but it's also sort of lazy because there's so much less journeying throughout the landscapes and battling along the way and to create some sort of dynamic story. And I don't know, it's just a very conflicting game here. But then there's the combat, and it is a definite departure from the traditional turn-based of the earlier games, and we're seeing more of a selecting moves back-to-back and you're simply waiting for a cooldown zone. And I have to say, it really does feel great. It's very smooth, and you can also like choose to swap different Pokemon moves out for your individual Pokemon, depending on if you want to go for more like speed or power. You're not just simply locked into it by forgetting an old move. You just simply store them all up and choose what you want, depending on how you want to have those individual battles. And so like the battle system is a ton of fun. I actually enjoy being sucked into them instead of just sort of grinding through them in some of the older games. And speaking of the battles, we also get these mega evolutions with the stones, and in some cases in the wild as well. You've seen them, I guess, like part of the story missions anyway. And I can't say like I love this. It just sort of feels like a base team would have done the job just as well and focus on some newer Pokemon with that, or just building up your traditional team. It feels more like in the show Power Rangers, like when you have the giant monsters like double or triple in size, try to take over the city, and then the Power Rangers hop in their Zords, and they would, go to equal size, battle each other out inside the city. And it was always like, as a kid, like the stakes were the same because they had both grown. It was not like one was overpowering the other. They're of the same power. And so like the same thing feels like it's happening here because you Mega Evolve, and then your opponent Mega Evolves at the same time, and you're simply evenly matched again. And I don't know, not a huge fan of that. I know like some of the individual like mega evolution battles are a little more dynamic because you're trying to stay alive, but I don't know, I just personally don't care for it a whole lot. It also reminds me like in the show Digimon, how like the Digimon would actually digivolve into a higher evolution, and of course someone else's Digimon would also digivolve to a higher evolution, and they'd battle it out as a higher evolved state. And so it almost feels like who is stealing from who now, because you actually have the ability to evolve a Pokemon on the spot or evolve your Mon like in Digimon. I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but that's what it reminded me of anyway. And I know it sounds like I'm really trashing the game here, but I have to say, like, I'm having a ton of fun with it. And so I guess, like, despite all of its shortcomings, I am addicted. The catching and the leveling up and the ranking really, like, keeps me grinding for hours inside the game. And so, like, I'm torn. Am I having fun with the game? Yes, but at the same time, I've also like seen opportunities as I go where I could be having more fun, and the only reason I'm not having that extra little layer of fun is just simply from a lack of effort on the developers. And so, like I said, it's a weird mix, and I guess I'm just going to leave it at the first spot here. It's the best, laziest game I've played this year, and it shouldn't cost $70.